Hello, I'm so excited to come to you this September, which is IC Awareness Month, and share my story and a little bit about my journey and why being open and talking about these things are so incredibly important for all of our journey so that we reduce the stigma and we increase the awareness and the capacity for everybody who is suffering with this illness and disease to get the help and the support that they need. So my journey started 17 years ago, is when I was diagnosed, but I actually believe that I have been suffering with it all my life in a variety of ways. But 17 years ago is when it really got out of hand, and I went through the process of getting diagnosed. My process was relatively quick in the scheme of the average person with interstitial cystitis, bladder pain syndrome. So I was able to get a diagnosis within a few months, but it then took a couple of years to get to the right doctors and figure out the right treatments and what was going to help me long term. So I have now managed this illness for 17 years. And on top of that, about 6 years ago, I had triple negative breast cancer. So I've been through a thing or two regarding health. I'm also a therapist. I'm a licensed psychotherapist in the state of California. And I also am the founder of a support and training company called the Chronic Illness and Pain Institute. So I'm coming to you to share my story because when I went to go find help, not only physically, but mentally, with the grief and the depression of living life with illness, I couldn't find the resources that I needed or wanted. And so that's been my mission, my passion, to become that, to create that, to train other people, to effectively help all of us, because about half of the population has some sort of chronic health condition. And we know that millions are living with IC and bladder pain. So I am living proof that we can live a great life, a fulfilling life, an amazing life with the illness, with managing it. It does not need to undo us. I will say in the beginning, and if you've heard any of my other webinars or things that I've done for the ICA, I talk about it affecting every stitch of our being. So yes, it's a bladder disease, but it affects everything, and it affects our roles, how we interact with our partners, our families, our friends, all of our social connections, our work, our finances. It affects every part of our life, and let alone the mental and emotional toll that it takes upon us. So this is why I speak openly and freely about my journey. I don't want anybody to ever feel that they are alone, that they can't get help, or that there's some stigma that is stopping them from getting what they need. And that's a big part of why I joined the ICA board earlier this year. It's an honor to have been voted in and to be bringing mental health and that conversation, in addition to all of the advocacy work that the ICA does with the CDC, the Department of Defense, all of the research. I myself have relied heavily on the ICA on my 17-year journey. Early on, I had to use their disability services package that helps you fill out all the forms. And their work, the ICA's work to get and keep IC listed on approved items is what allows us to also get disability. So it's really important work. And I'm at a place now where I can actively give back to the community in a much more meaningful way. And so that's why I joined the board and in doing the work with the communications and advocacy, because we all need to, have a hand forward and a hand backward. Helping each other's forward and backward is my philosophy on life. And So through my journey, I have pretty much had every treatment, most every treatment that somebody with IC can have. I still have to manage it. I would say the big ones are my mental health that keep me living a good life, right? A good quality of life, and managing flares as they come up and things like that. So the bigger things are managing my stress. We all know if our stress is high, our symptoms are high. So managing my stress, managing my mental health. Pelvic floor physical therapy has been an invaluable aid to me through all the years, and still continues to be. I also have an InterStim implant with leads to my bladder. I get regular Botox to my pelvic floor. And I've had some other treatments. I take some medications, still occasionally with flares, we'll do installations, but it doesn't stop me from traveling. It doesn't stop me from having a full life with my family or running my businesses, which in the beginning it did. I lost everything. I had to stop working in the corporate world. And there was 2 years of surgeries and downtime. And that is what drove me to become a therapist, was to help other people who were having mental distress because of chronic illness and pain. And so I've experienced it firsthand. And I've experienced the stigma that comes with not only illness and some of the medications that we need, or some of the treatments that we need, as well as the mental health part of it, and any stigma around there. So it's important that we talk about how pain is in the body, how pain moves through the body and mind, educate. The more I find that we can educate ourselves on what our system is doing, and share with other people and go, okay, here are the things that are working. Because as we know, IC is very different for everybody. It does not present the same in every single person. And nor does the treatments for it work the same or don't work for each person. So it's a quite unique fingerprint for each particular person. And so that needs to be taken into consideration. The ICA is a wealth of information on the website and in all the advocacy and all the fundraising that we do to continue to support the ICA and all the patients, and provide all this information from all the doctors and all the research and all these different areas that are feeding into it, so that people with this illness have a full scope of, okay, here's where I can go to get the best, most accurate, evidence-based information. I think we've all experienced how there are some areas where maybe there's some inaccurate or outdated information. And even this year, we know things are changing within the medical, as far as like how pain is defined, how things are diagnosed. The AUA changed their guidelines. So the research and all these things are constantly changing and evolving and pushing forward. And it's really important that the people know that your providers and your medical team and everybody who's watching after you for your health is getting the best and most accurate information. And I will say, hands down, the ICA is the one that provides that the most consistently in being able to do that, and is not swayed by profits or who the sponsors are, because it's the nonprofit. So it's a really important association to have. And the amount of advocacy and time on Capitol Hill all year long, and fundraising and researching, and the CDC and with the Department of Defense, all of these moving parts that are constantly going on. The entire board is working so hard, and staff, and we get to benefit from that. So not only do I encourage you to talk about your stories and share your stories and rely on the ICA, but I also encourage you to, put your money where your mouth is and give a little so that we all pay it forward and get help and eventually find a cure. That would be the most amazing part for all of us. But until then, we don't have to live life on hold. We know where the resources are. We know what we can do to live a full and healthy and wonderful life. Now, it takes work. It takes a lot of work, and it takes diligence. And that's not easy in the beginning when we're in a lot of pain and we're in a lot of distress. So it's a matter of, okay, I know I can go there, but I'm over here. How do I get over to this area that I want to be in as far as my life and my quality of life, managing my pain? It definitely took me several years in the beginning to even get to a point where I felt, okay, we have enough things in place to get me to a functional or a better functional level. So I am not blind to the impact, especially on people who are newly diagnosed and are newly going through, or you've been okay for a while and now you're going through a lot of flares and something has happened and something's changed. And so listening to our body and finding that avenue, finding the proper providers and the proper combination of things that is going to work for you. So I hope that this information helps you, brings you some hope, and also lets you know that you have the proper resources within the ICA to find providers on the provider directory, to learn about the newest research, to listen to all the speakers speaking this month on the different topics. I'll be doing some more talking about mental health and chronic illness this month. And so all of the speakers, all of the people, all of the board members, we're cheering you on. We're doing our best to provide you the best and most accurate information so that you have the best quality of care and the best quality of life, even with IC